spiritual abilities before I went through my, like, awakening. But you go through your awakening your whole fucking life. So I'm just saying, like, based off of the terminology that's out there, this is something that happened to me before that. And it was when I worked at Olive Garden. So I had worked at Olive Garden for 8.5 years. And this was probably at around the 8-year mark. And I was, what the fuck is it called? It's like a third key or like I was a service professional, which basically meant doing the job of the managers without the pay or the title. So like I'd show up dressed as a manager. I would comp the things that needed to be comped. I would discount the things that needed to be discounted. I would fix the checks that needed to be fixed. I would touch the tables, which means talk to the guests. I would help organize what needed to be sat and all that stuff. Part 2 in the comments. During this time as a service professional at Olive Garden, one of the things that the corporation restaurants want really badly is for those surveys to be taken. You know, the surveys are at the receipt. And like the corporation themselves will be like, if you take this survey, you might be eligible for a $25 gift card. Majority of the time, people were only going to take the surveys, the customers and stuff. They were only going to take the surveys if they had a really shit service. And the servers didn't give a fucking hot hell if you took that survey or not. We really didn't care. Nobody really cared, but the corporations cared. It was getting to the point where my general manager at the time, who had been there longer than I had, and this was at 8-year mark, was possibly going to lose his job if he didn't get this survey stuff going. And if there was a problem, I solve it. So, part 3. As my general manager was about to lose his job if he didn't get these surveys going, and with nobody giving a fuck about these surveys, my sales manager was like, oh, I know what to do. We'll have a pizza party. We worked at Olive Garden. None of us gave a fuck about pizza parties. We were like partying a different way all the time in a restaurant world. I don't know if you're aware of that, but yeah. And so I went to thinking, how can I rectify the situation? How can I get everybody on board in my restaurant to do the surveys, hand out the surveys, get everybody included, and save my boss's job? To me, that was like easy. I was like, that's what I do. I just, okay. What do we need to do? And then I get to work. And that's a spiritual ability. Reading between the situations and finding the path. So I was thinking, what fuels people? Money and like sportsmanship, right? So I don't have any money to put into this. I don't want anybody else to have to put any money into this. So we're going to go with sportsmanship. We happen to have 7 restaurants in our district, and you can see the reports of like how each restaurant was doing inside the district, with their surveys and stuff. Like it was part of a report system. And I was like, oh shit, can I get my hands on one of those reports? So I got the reports that said, where everybody was on like, who had the sales, who had the like bringing the wine bottle to the table for a sample, who was touching the tables, who was like all of the stats, the percentage of how much it went up, how much it went down, real simple stuff. It like wasn't complicated math. It was just literally all 7 restaurants there. We had Disney World's restaurant in our district manager because I live in Florida, or in our district region. So of course they were number 1. We were at the bottom, guys. So being the 7th in the district, like the lowest of the totem pole, everybody's like, oh, it's the neighborhood we live in. It's the clientele we have. We live in the ghetto. That's just how it is. And I was like, I don't see problems. I don't see excuses. I see solutions. So fuck all that. Put that aside. I don't even care about that. Let's focus on what we can do, shall we? And so I was looking at the survey questions, and the survey questions were, Did a server bring a bottle of wine to your table? Stuff like that. It wasn't like, did your server? It was like, did a server? Because they were like really big at the time of like, to check in, to get like on the floor to like take your tables. You had to like do a wine speech and show that you knew that you would do it so that you would do it to the guests. Nobody fucking did it. Right? Nobody had time to do that shit. Nobody fucking did it. So I had to fix that. Tearing apart that survey, the guest survey, I realized like it was like, did anyone come by your table and clear away dishes? So in the restaurant, if you're in like the flow of everything, you're going to go, did the busser take away the dishes? Did the server pre-bus the table? Did the thing... Nobody wanted to do their own stuff. They were too busy doing their own stuff. I was like, okay, where are the loopholes? What can we do? What's the easiest way to do this? Not the formality, not the formula that they've been going by, because that shit ain't working. Where's the in-between? That's a spiritual ability. Finding the in-between path of things and problem-solving solutions. Well, since I was a acting manager and I would check people in before they went on the floor to open up for their shift to make their money, on the floor means like you're actively taking the tables and serving the guests. I implemented some new tactics into things that worked out. So now I know I am going to be doing a competition. It's fueled like a team sport thing. I need to get the other 7 restaurants on board. I need to get the other servers and the bussers on board. How do I get people who don't give a fuck interested? Again, if you're not using money, you use competition. That's fun. So I took the liberty of calling the other restaurants in my districts. I said, hey, you guys want to do a contest with me? And they're like, I don't know who you are. And I was like, that's great. So my name is Kat. I am a service professional over at the Olive Garden here. And, I would like to start a competition, based off of like best in show or like who improved the most or whatever. And then we're going to make a makeshift kind of trophy and we'll have our district manager deliver it at the end of the quarter to whoever improves the most. And everybody was on board. Everybody's like, that sounds fucking great. But I didn't tell them the rest of my form. Getting the people that work in the restaurant interested in this contest. So of course, competition between the other restaurants definitely fueled. Next, I needed to, they were like, I don't want to hand out this survey. Like, I don't give a fuck. And I was like, here's what you do. You tell your tables, don't tell them you're giving them a gift card. Don't tell them anything like that. They don't give a fuck about that. You can, I mean, whatever. But tell them you're in competition with the other Olive Gardens in your district and you want to be number 1. Your regulars, your clientele are going to be for home team. They are going to do the survey just to help you out. People are fueled by helping others more than themselves. They don't care about a gift card. That takes too much time and energy. Help you though? That will work. So now we've got people able to hand out the survey, and that's super easy. Okay, so as acting manager of the, whatever, when I would have people, I would sign people in so they could start their shift. And since the survey was very weird with their verbiage, they would say, did anybody come to your table with a wine bottle? Did anybody take any dishes? Did anybody come to your table? When I would sign people in, check them in and say they're ready to go take tables, I would say, hey, do me a favor, take a lap around the restaurant with a wine bottle and just ask anybody if they want a sample. Because if we just made sure we kept track of the samples in the computer system, you were allowed to give away samples of wine. So they'd make a round, and it didn't say, did your server? It said, did anybody? So as rotating people came in, they would make a lap. When it was time for them to go home, check out, they needed to be checked out by a manager too. So I'd go, do me a favor, do a lap and pre-bus, just one lap and pre-bus around the restaurant. So everybody was being taken care of. Everybody was working together, and it was So now I've got the competition on board with all the restaurants. I've got the guests and clientele taking the survey, which is like the hardest part, one of the hardest parts. I've got all the answers being truthful and honest on the survey. I've got teamwork flowing. Now I need to bring the morale. I need to build the morale. So I would take my best alcohol salesperson that I knew, and I'd say, hey, you are the best at this. Would you be willing to give people tips on other servers on how to sell alcohol? What do you do? Not all your secrets, just a little bit. You're the best at it. And then I would say, hey, you're the best at this. Can you blah, blah, blah. Hey, and then I would take the people that everybody looked over and thought that they were shitty. And I'd go, hey, you're the best at this. You're the best at, I would find the best quality that they bring to the table, make sure they knew that they had great qualities, and have them share it with everybody. Now I've got the difficult, moody staff on board. I started to print out the charts every day. I'd come in early for my shift, not very long, didn't matter, and I was allowed to clock in to do it. And I'd take my Sharpies and I'd make a little chart, and it was just, I would put all the other restaurants' charts in a stapled together formula so they could see it, and I would just chart our stuff. Bring bottle to the table, up 1 point. Ask if they would like dessert, down a point. Blah, 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 blah. And I would chart it each day You know, how we were improving, what we were doing each day. Was it up to, down to? So everybody was involved. There was a scoreboard. They could see how the other restaurants were doing. Everybody was high-fiving each other. It was team building and morale. People were coming up to me that was like, I've hated working here for over a decade, and you made me enjoy work again. You made me feel seen and important. And not only that, I was doing my main goal, which was saving my boss's job. I had someone make a trophy, and they got permission. They got one of the Olive Garden salad bowls, and they bedazzled it. And then they took one of the bread baskets, the plastic bread baskets, and they spray painted it gold, and they put salad tongs on the top, and they made this really cheesy, cute little cost nothing trophy. And in a month and a half, we were number 2 in the district, behind the one at Disney World, of course. But their restaurant was ran like a tight ship, and all their clientele were like super, super happy all the time, majority of the time. Number 2 in the district. Team morale up, everybody working together, everybody succeeding, guests happy, guests satisfied, more tips for everybody. Not only that, but my idea was taken by the district and spread everywhere to the entire southern region. I changed the trajectory of how Olive Garden was ran. Let me get to the point. My spiritual abilities are not the way I'm able to feel energy. It's not the way that I can tune into people or psychically know what's going on in their life, if you want to call it that, or any of that. Those aren't my spiritual abilities. Those just came with what I do naturally, which is problem solve. Feeling the energy of the spaces in between, getting to know people and know what actually moves them and motivates them on a human level, doing the day-to-day, everyday practices and pushing my ideas and having the courage to do something about it, bringing everybody together, seeing the bigger picture, making it happen, having the courage to step into it, uplifting, motivating. By doing those actions in my right now moment, I was able to change the trajectory of that timeline completely. For me, for them, for the whole corporation.
Hello, Pilgrim. My look is inspired by a good old-fashioned Salem witch. With flames coming up the dress, as if I'm being bred at the stake. I am serving old-school witch. Like, literally. From, like, 1510.
Somebody call the fire brigade!
Paging Arthur Miller.
Abigail!
Raja.
So this is Drag Race Season 11, episode, I believe, like 4. Nina West is known for being very political with her drag. She's very intelligent. She's an activist, and she knows her American history.